From underground beginnings to producing global hits with the Swedish House Mafia, Laidback Luke has seen it all and stayed relevant the whole way. In this interview, we dig into his exact production process, including some of the plugins and processing chains he still swears by, how he approaches creativity, and how martial arts have played a huge role in his success both in the studio and on stage. We also talk about how he got started as a teenager, the circumstances and people that helped him, and how he and Armin van Buuren used to have a paper round together. So whether you're an up-and-coming producer or just love dance music history, there's a lot to learn in this one. So without further ado, let's meet Laidback Luke. Welcome, Laidback Luke, the one, the only.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us.
Finally, I'm here.
Yeah.
I love all the stuff you do and I watch your channel, so now I'm here.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, I know we met a couple of years ago here in Amsterdam at ADE.
Oh, well, it's a funny story because you were waiting in line and I think I was going to a panel and I recognized you.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you're the EDM tips guy.
That was a massive ego boost for me.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I recognized you obviously because you've got your YouTube channel, but I was playing your music for years when I was DJing a lot in London as well. I think the first track I heard of yours may have been Get Dumb.
Yeah, Get Dumb. Nice. Very cool. It's a track with the Swedish House Mafia, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And Get Dumb was the predecessor for Break the House Down.
And then after that, there was the big Robin-esque kind of reshuffle.
Yeah, we had Leave the World Behind first, and then and then the Show Me Love.
Yeah, Leave the World Behind. There was a different mix of that, which I thought was amazing. And it may have been like called the Laidback Luke Edit or something like that.
Oh wow, I might have just forgotten that.
It's still on my playlist.
Oh,
because it's when the piano comes in, it's kind of in a minor key until you get to the big break, and then it changes to this big epic thing. So you've been relevant and producing, I was going to say for a couple of decades, but you just told me beforehand you actually started.
I started producing at the age of 15 in 1992. Yeah. So that is 33 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. And what inspired you to get into electronic music production?
Well, I come from a musical family and everyone's really good at playing the instrument. And I love telling this. My brother is a drummer and he can drum with all four limbs at 180 BPM. Doesn't miss a beat.
Wow.
And me, if I do this, and I try to do that for 2 minutes, I can't even keep that up. And my brother would always laugh at me. He's my younger brother, so I'd punch him in the face for that.
Right, too.
But he would laugh at me. My dad would be like, oh, there's Luke trying to play the guitar, ha, 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 ha. So at the age of 15, my friend showed me, he had an Amiga computer with Tracker on there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was programming music. He was playing, my favorite track at the time was Technotronics, Pump Up the Jam.
Yeah.
And it was all squared away there on the computer. He was muting the chords or shuffling the beats and soloing out this and that. I was like, dude, do you mean to say that you can make music with help of a computer? And he's like, yes. And I was like, this is my calling. So I dove into any sort of type of sequencer, ended up with an Atari ST with Cubase on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I started programming music. And all of a sudden I could let my dad hear music that I had made. And it's funny because he said, well, this is not music. Like, did you play those instruments? I'm like, no, the computer did. And so I fell in love with electronic music.
So what was the tracker called on the Amiga? Was it actually called Tracker?
Yeah, I think it was actually called Tracker, yeah.
I had Octamed. That was the first thing I saw, yeah.
Wow.
That was on the Amiga 500, I think.
Yeah, nice.
And I think that's where Calvin Harris started as well, on Octamed.
And it was a very mathematical type of schedule.
It's like hexadecimal.
Yeah,
so different from now. But then Cubase, as you said, when you were using the Atari ST, that was a kind of horizontal layout.
Yeah, well, that was a leap. That's basically where Logic had the whole layout inspired from. Was the first of like having sections of MIDI notes together in a block and that you could move and stuff. Yeah, revolutionary with a little pencil as well. And
Absolutely, and it's just grown from there, really.
Yeah.
So how have you managed to keep your interest and excitement about it? I mean, is that a question that can be answered?
I am very much blessed with this heap of creativity that's going on in my head. And whenever I'm in the studio as well, and over these decades of making music, I've found hacks to keep being creative and never be in a rut in the studio where maybe some of you who are watching have these afternoons of browsing through presets or trying to make sounds, which I've also tried, and usually that left me very unproductive. So I found methods of going into the studio with a concept. Literally like going to the grocery store and thinking, okay, I kind of want to lead like that Afrojack track and maybe some pianos like D.O.D. did. And what if I put them together? And so I'm buying my groceries. And then at the end of it, I go into my studio and I'm like, oh yeah, Afrojack lead, D.O.D. piano, put some housey beats, and we have a track. And just work on that. And sometimes you have happy accidents in the studio, which are great.
Yeah.
And usually my sessions are really fast. Like in 3.5 hours, I can finish a track, mastered and everything.
I saw an interview, maybe it was on your channel, but I remember seeing an interview with you once when you'd said that. I think you said, oh, I can do a track in 4 hours. And I was like, oh, that's fast.
Yeah. Well, Break Down the House was actually that. The vocal in Break Down the House is my own vocal. And I finished that in 4 hours, including mastering. I remember saving the file, Break Down the House version 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the version everyone knows.
Oh, wow.
Never happened to me ever again. Like I'll easily go up to version 9 or version 13, or I'll listen to my master in the car and I'm like, oh, it needs less 40 hertz or whatever in the bass section. But yeah, Break Down the House was a version 1.
And do you find that if you had been a more prolific and proficient producer, then you would have been more critical of it?
Well, interestingly enough, I have been there, because we spoke about Get Dumb, and Break Down the House was in that era when I started producing with the Swedish House Mafia. And mind you, I was already 10 years into my producer career. So I had methods. I was a very picky producer. I was like, in every track, I'm going to make a new kick drum, make a new hi-hat. And then it took me at least 2 weeks to finish a track, and I would master it. And compared to the Swedish House Mafia tracks, it sounded like nothing. And I'm like, I'm spending so much time. How do they do that? And Steve Angelo invited me to his studio at a certain point. And I was sitting there watching him do all his Logic plugins and compressors and this and that. And in my head, I was saving all of the presets. Yeah. So I came back from Stockholm, went into my own studio, and I was like, how about I just implement all of what I saw? And the method that they had was so quick, so effective, it was from there on out that I could finish tracks in 4 hours. Before that, I was that type of prolific, I've been producing for a decade, producer, and it needs to be. But Steve Angelo threw that all away. Like when I saw him work, I was like, hey dude, there's a tick in that sample still. And he's like, I don't care. Boom, track is done.
Nice.
I was like, whoa, he's a rock star. I'm going to adopt this as well.
So was there a particular kind of processing chain that he would always lean to that you ended up using? And was that what helped you produce quicker? Or was it just throwing caution to the wind and not being so picky?
Well, back then, yes, it was a whole thing. The master chain and the Swedish House Mafia ruled the loudness war back in that day, like 2007, 2008. And it was just like as if I got the keys to the car. And all of a sudden, my tracks were right in the middle of the loudness war. And I have a fun fact. Producers of Alice DJ approached me once out in Ibiza. I was playing Pasha, and the guy pulled me to the side, and he's like, dude, I got to say, we've been using your tracks as a reference now to ours because you guys are so incredibly loud. Like, we don't even know how you do it, but your tracks are the blueprint. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. So yeah, there was a pair of ingredients there that made the sound.
Yeah.
But right now, since everyone came out of the loudness war being louder, it's not even that relevant anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that interested me because I was trying to get tracks loud as well. Of course, everyone was. So I'm still curious because it was before we had the quality of clippers and limiters and things that we have now. Was there a magic plugin that you had that you can share?
Not really, although back in that day I was still in FL Studio, and I kind of say the Sound Goodizer was the predecessor of the sausage fattener.
Yeah.
And I did like putting it there, or like an OTT, for instance. I liked putting it here and there, but it was never on my master chain.
Yeah.
And furthermore, the master chain that Steve Angelo had all the standard Logic plugins on there. It's nothing really special. It had an add limiter in the end, and then 2 Logic compressors, and there was no magic plugin other than key elements would be like always sample a kick drum. Because if you sample a master kick drum and you layer your sounds upon that, you already have the basis of like if you EQ and mix on that specific element, like, and that's why I preach the kick drum is the most important element in your track. If you layer everything on there, yeah, you're gonna sound loud.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
And it worked.
And it worked. And so then you have these standard limiters to tuck it in a little bit. But if you start with a chain like that, with a full master chain, and you produce in there, and you mix in there, then of course after 4 hours, couple of tweaks and you have a master track as well.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I think it was a technological advance that allowed that to start happening as well, because the computers got powerful enough to have plugins that were powerful enough to do that.
I mean, for me, the first time I found out about sidechain compression, which I also found out through the Swedes, before that, because I've always been a very big Daft Punk fan. Daft Punk were the first electronic band that really put the pumping compression in tracks.
Yeah.
And the Swedes never knew how they exactly did it, so they developed their own method. But the beauty about sidechain compression, as you know, is that you don't even have to have a present signal. You can have an invisible signal for the sound to duck. And back in the hardware days, this was magic. Like, you couldn't do that. You would always need to have a kick drum pumping in there to have that suction.
Yeah.
So that is a real technological advancement already.
Yeah. I mean, when I tried recreating a Daft Punk track in Ableton just to see how they would have gone about it, it is just all compressing it with the kick drum, whereas the sidechain compression, as you say, and now even you've got things like Kickstart, Shaper Box.
Yeah.
So you don't even need the signal.
One of my favorite shapers is not really shapers, but sidechaining is Track Spacer right now. I use it everywhere, and I get real lazy with it as well, because I'm like, man, this vocal isn't sticking out compared to the synths. Well, let's chuck a Track Spacer on there, and the vocal will stick out, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're not even using it to have the sidechain pump. You're literally sidechaining the signal to just soothe those frequencies.
Yeah, or even say I have a real full track and I have a vocal layered on top, and I want the vocal to pop.
Yeah.
Instead of going into all of the elements, I'll be like, okay, so what's really clashing with the vocal right now? Maybe it's the clap even, or synths, or guitar, and then I'll just put a track spacer on everything, and then have the vocal be the input signal. And then it doesn't. Like, it's magic nowadays.
I had a list of questions, but I just enjoy geeking out on production stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the viewers will take real value from this anyway.
Yeah, and I'm an open book. Like, what has been a big revolution for me, because being at the peak of the loudness war going until now, and right during Corona, I probably made the loudest tracks I've ever did, like a -4 LUFS, -3. And then it got streamed on Spotify. And I remember my new track coming on after like a Blessed Madonna track, which is nice and dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my track sounding so low in volume. And I'm like, what is going on? Found out, about the loudness penalty and that sort of thing. And I was so thrown off with that, where I was like, dude, what's happening right now? And so nowadays I sit at around a -7 LUFS. And for me, it's really easy to get there. And what a revolution was for me is that I just need to make sure that all the incoming signal into the master chain is reduced by a couple of decibels by either having clippers on the separate channels, or what I've noticed with clippers is that your signal distorts really quick. Say you put a clipper on your vocal, you'll sometimes hear the heavy signals like crushing, or like distorting. So on things like vocals, I'll just tend to put a really easy limiter, make it duck like a 2 dB. And if you do that like for your full track or groups, then you have 2 dB extra on the master.
Yeah.
And you can get it out there way more easy. And this used to be such a struggle for me, because I was like, man, I'm missing the magic plug-in, or like, what is it that I need? But it's really about reducing and then amplifying on the end.
Yeah, reducing the peaks so then the average can go up.
Yeah.
Lovely. And now if we switch a bit into the industry, I know that a lot of people will be interested in this. How did you go from a 14-year-old playing on Tracker to getting a first release and then actually developing a career from it?
Yeah.
It's kind of a big question, but you know, that's the dream for a lot of people.
It's a great question, but yeah, it was a long road, and quite similar to someone like Armin van Buuren, who did this as well, who's about my age. Him and I had a paper route, and synthesizers and drum computers were very expensive back in the day. I remember when I found out I could make music with a computer, I was in search of a 909 hi-hat, which I didn't know it was a 909 hi-hat, and I couldn't get it anywhere. Like, my dad had a keyboard somewhere and pressed on the hi-hats and was just a drum kit or whatever, and I'm like, man, I want to sound like house music, but how do I get these sounds? So one of my first pieces of kit was an Akai, I forgot which one it was. It was a keyboard, and it had a little floppy disk input, and you could sample 12 seconds on it. I remember buying a sample CD, which had those 909 drum sounds on it. So I sampled those on my Akai, and man, it took me about 3 years to get there, where I was like, now I have a 909 drum kit that I can use and layer my chords on, and it instantly sounded so much more professional. Now, a sampler like that was easily, say, €1,000 back in that day, and then you needed a synthesizer. My first synthesizer was a Roland D5, which was about €1,200. I had the sampler. Did I have a mixer? Yeah, I think I bought like a 6-track mixer. And then that was kind of it for a couple of years, until I saved enough money to buy a bigger capacity sampler. I had one lucky break. My mentors are Chocolate Puma. And I remember giving my first demos to Chocolate Puma, hoping to get a response from them. Chocolate Puma thought I had a lot of talent, and he kind of like put me under his wing. And at this point, I'm like 15 years old, still doing my paper route. One day he approaches me. He's like, Luke, we're rebuilding our studio, and we have half of the studio equipment sitting there doing nothing. Do you want it in your bedroom? And I was like, this is crazy. That's like a shortcut. So immediately I got 3 synths, 2 samplers, big mixing desk, and I was blown away. And so, because this is the time before YouTube, this must have been like 1995 at this point, I was taking the manuals of all this equipment with me to school. During PE, I was sitting in the corner of the gym, like just reading on how to program these and which MIDI channels and that sort of thing. And so finally started putting, thanks to that, some decent demos together. And up until 1997, when Gaston said, I'm going to offer you a record label contract. You're going to put out tracks with us. And I'm like, no, this is crazy. Put out a couple of tracks. My third track in was a remix I did on spec for Green Velvet, The Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate Puma got the A side, the opportunity to remix that, and they said, well, we have this new talent. He's called Laidback Luke. Can he make the B-side for it? And the record label Music Man back in the day, they were like, okay, let him do it. I did it. And my remix was banging. Like, it was a quick session as well. It was like as if it was given to me, put it out. Everyone started playing the B-side, including Carl Cox. And so back then, Carl Cox was like the #1 DJ in the world. He always put out those mix CDs called Fact, the Fact mix CDs, and there he champions me as like an up-and-coming talent to watch. My third release.
Wow.
And because he was supporting that so much and playing that everywhere around the world, my name got out and I could DJ. And yeah, so it was really like I got some lucky breaks, man. It was crazy.
Well, it sounds like you were in the right place. I mean, how did you even meet Chocolate Puma?
Well, Chocolate Puma is from the same Dutch village that I grew up in. Furthermore, Gaston, he went to the same high school as me, but he's like 3-4 years older than I. When I had my high school dance, he was DJing my high school dance. And I was like, dude, that's that. Because back then he was the good man. And he had this record label called Fresh Fruit, which was iconic. And I was like, dude, that's the Fresh Fruit guy DJing at my high school end party. I'm like, I need to bring a demo. But this was a demo tape made from no 909 samples and just like, so I gave that to him, and it took me chasing him for like 3-4 months until he responded.
Yeah.
But then when he did, we connected, and he started teaching me how to produce, and yeah.
Amazing.
Rest is history.
Yeah. So it sounds like, and I've heard this story mentioned by other producers as well, that being in a place where there are other producers is important.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it's less so now because of the internet, but there's nothing quite like coming to a place and just bumping into people, or especially something like ADE, you know.
Well, I have this theory that at least 50% of all your opportunities lies in networking. If you don't reach out to people, there's no people that can grant you that opportunity and chance. And so, yeah, it's massive. Like when I see new talents come out here at ADE as well and recognize them from a year ago, or that type of networking, that just creates relationships and that creates opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I've found that as well. I've also found that you can squander the opportunities if you're not prepared. So it's a good idea to actually practice and get better.
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to kind of switch into, and tell me if you don't want to talk about this, but I used to do a lot of martial arts, and I know that you were a very enthusiastic and successful martial artist because you actually were in the Kung Fu team for Netherlands, weren't you?
I'm like wondering why I would not want to talk about this. That's my second career, my second life, for sure. What did you do?
Karate, Shotokan.
No way.
Yeah.
How long?
About 10 years or so.
What age?
9 till 19.
So you got your black belt?
I got to first Q.
Yeah,
because I stopped for a couple of years. Then I did some kickboxing and some other things as well.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
I want to get back into it because I love it so much.
You should.
It's good for your state of mind. It's good for your body. It's good for your self-respect and respect of others.
I started with karate as well. Started when I was 7 years old doing Kyokushinkai karate up until 14. 2 weeks before my black belt exam, I decided I was done with it. Puberty hit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to make some music. I was done with it, finished.
That's why I stopped just before my black belt as well, which I regret now.
I get to be 20 years old. I'm producing a whole lot, and I'm getting fatter. And I'm thinking, man, I need to work out. But I didn't want to go to a gym because I've always thought the gym was kind of boring. I started with karate because I was into Kung Fu, but there was no Kung Fu school in my little village. I had a singer coming into my studio, and she says, I know this amazing Kung Fu school out in Leiden in the Netherlands. You should check it out. So I called. My teacher picks up. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in Kung Fu. He's like, come on in. I never left. I'm still here actually.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was like 25 years ago. I'm a second degree black belt in Kung Fu. And I did the World Championships in Hong Kong twice. But I also have a new obsession right now, which is grappling. So it's been about a year I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the whole ground aspect is missing from my Kung Fu system. Furthermore, in karate, you know as well that if you punch your opponent on the ground, then the fight is finished.
Yeah.
And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the fight only starts.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. That's something I want to get into, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's my next thing I want to
And it's interesting because I do Tai Chi as well. I kind of use my Tai Chi in the ground fighting. And so now at this older age, you can actually determine the pace of the sparring rounds you do. And I can highly recommend it. Like brings sort of a state of flow when some other person is trying to choke you out or break your arm and you're trying to survive, but how do you survive and maintain? And so there's a whole war going on and you're amidst the storm. How do you deal with it? And so when you come out of a training session, it's also like, man, I've been stressing about all of these things, but I think I can handle it.
Yeah, that's it. That's one of the things I love about it, you know. So I will get back into it. But I guess what I was wondering as well is, do you think that's helped you with your music production career? Because when you're going to a DJ gig, something goes wrong, the tech breaks, something's late, you're caught in traffic or whatever, it can be really stressful.
Yeah.
So do you think that you've taken that martial arts state of mind into your music production career?
100%. Yeah, especially the mental aspect and the discipline is something that I took from martial arts. So I have a little lesson for all of you sitting here being like, I don't care about martial arts. I'm going to teach you something about stress management. Imagine the chaos in the world around you like a forest that is amongst a storm, and there's wind and there's rain coming. Imagine yourself just being a little twig, a little tiny tree, and you could go with the chaos of the forest, right? Just know that the chaos is all around you, and you can observe it, but you can be as peaceful as this little tree. And that's what I often use, like also ADE, and because it's a lot. It's loud music. There's people wanting to talk to you, and it's like, I'm just going to be an observer right now. I know that everything will be fine. And then when you step out of it, it's like, everything's okay, man. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I noticed when I met you a couple of years ago and today is that you're cool.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like,
yeah.
He's cool.
Now, mind you, I need to be very transparent with you. I'm naturally really an anxious person. Like, my wife will tell you, she's like, dude, I don't think Laidback Luke is that laid back. But it's thanks to martial arts that I come across like that and that I have everything in control like that.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess something that you'll be able to help with as well is there are a lot of young producers. You've already given some great advice. And in fact, lots of the people that watch our channel are not that young. You know, they've just always loved music production. Maybe they had to concentrate on their job or their family, and now they're rekindled that passion. But are there any suggestions you could give to anyone? You know, if you were talking to yourself from 30 years ago, what would you say as being very important advice?
Most important advice that I can give you is the moment you are making a track in the studio and you're enjoying it, you nailed it, you have that big track you wanted to work on, and it's like you're listening through it like one more time after mastering or mixing, and it's like you're just in the studio and you're like, oh, this is it. That moment is the same for each and every one of us. Whether you're Calvin Harris, Laidback Luke, EDM Tips, or you, that moment is yours. So after that moment, you know, a track like Calvin Harris is flung out in the world, or my track, and I get a bunch of hate on it, or no one listens, or get a bunch of streams, or people aren't into it. All of that doesn't matter apart from that moment. And we all have it. It's great.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I want to be mindful of your time as well. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I'm sure that everyone's got value from it. So
thank you for having me.
Been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
A huge thanks to Laidback Luke on this one. Some fantastic insights, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below thanking Luke for his time. I've got some other interviews on this channel with producers such as Oliver Heldens and Ferry Corsten, with plenty of insights that I'm sure you'll enjoy as well. And if you'd like coaching to get your music production to a level where your tracks are getting supported by artists such as Luke, like many of our other students, you can check out the Music Production Accelerator using the link below. And I'll catch you over at one of those next interviews.